Welcome to Country Fried Rock, where we talk with musicians to find out what inspires their creativity. Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. Welcome to Country Fried Rock. I'm your host, Sloan Spencer. This week, I'm talking with a roots swing band out of Southern California called Dustbowl Revival, making their first jaunt across the country to the East Coast right now. A band that manages up to 12 players at their local shows. On the road now with about half a dozen people, and influences ranging from the Stones and the Beatles through gypsy jazz, R&B, and opera. All of that translates to a really fun, energetic live show that sometimes puts the headlining band to shame. We catch the band by cell phone this week. Little note about the audio there, as they take their show on the road. Literally, it's the Dustbowl Revival, not just another Mumford band, on Country Fried Rock. My guest today on Country Fried Rock is Zach Lupetin of Dustbowl Revival. Welcome.
Hello.
I didn't first hear about you all. I first saw a picture of you all, and I thought, that band has 1 million people in it. How did this come together?
Well, it's kind of one of those stories that makes everybody laugh, but it was pretty much, I moved out to L.A. From the Midwest, and I had a band in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We did kind of started merging bluegrass and blues and different roots elements together, and it was kind of one of those short-lived projects in college where everybody comes together at the end.
Yeah.
And we recorded a lot of, we had the jazz school kids and then string band kind of guys, and just sort of came together, and it was a really cool thing. And we recorded this record, and then we all graduated, and we played one show.
Right.
And I was like, damn, that was kind of cool. We called that the Royal Family, sort of a funny kind of mashup project. When I moved out to L.A., I was like, that would be kind of a cool thing to do out here, but a little more time to work. So I put up a Craigslist ad. That's pretty much the long and short of it. And maybe it was the luckiest Craigslist ad ever. I don't know. It was pretty much, there's still people in this band today, about 5 years later, who responded to that original ad.
I hear of that to fill a player for something, but not typically to form the band.
Well, it was I think it helps to be specific. It pretty much was, do you play any one of these 15 instruments, and do you like Louis Armstrong, Bruce Springsteen, and Wilco, and Fats Waller? And the 6 to 7 people who were like, what? So, and then the band has sort of evolved from there. It started off as more of, a cluster of about 4 or 5, and then everybody who likes sort of old-time music in L.A. seems to find each other somehow. It's kind of a small, connected community, so a lot of the band members were sort of friends of friends, or our drummer was like, my roommate's one of the best clarinet players in California. Well, then naturally he should be in the band. So, yeah, the band is kind of a unique situation, because it's not like a lot of bands we have to have our 4 guys or we don't play a gig. I like to say that the Dustbowl Revival is uniquely customizable because, every venue, every event is different. So sometimes people want more of a string band. Sometimes people want a New Orleans kind of brass band. And we sort of bring those 2 elements together, and everybody's happy.
Trying to figure out the logistics of a band as large as you are in as many dates as you were doing. It would take a school bus.
Well, when we do go on the road, there is a 15-passenger van that we tend to rent, yes. Most of the time, it's pretty simple, honestly. We have about a core group of probably about 7 or 8 who usually play most of the gigs, and everyone has a backup or a backup.
Got it.
And so there's it's kind of a baseball team. You have your A line, you have your B line. Maybe it's more like a hockey team. Yeah, I like mixing it up. It keeps it fresh for me. Sometimes, you play a bunch of songs 3-4 days in a row, and you're like, God, I'm sick of this song. But if you have a different trumpet player adding his spice to it, it's a whole different song.
Country Fried Rock is proud to announce our second compilation to raise funds and awareness for musicians' mental health services. You can help keep music alive by pre-ordering our second compilation for Nucci's Space. Check it out at countryfriedrock.bandcamp.com. All of the proceeds raised go directly to the model program for community-based mental health services, reaching the musician community of Athens, Georgia, and soon expanding to my hometown of Atlanta. Born of tragedy, but making a difference for people right now. Prevent musician suicide. An organization makes a difference when people like this step up to the plate and donate songs. We thank them, and we thank you for your generous contributions to preventing musician suicide. Keep music alive.
Hey, this is Zach Lupetin of the Dustbowl Revival, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock.
How did you personally get into music?
Well, I started writing songs in high school. I came kind of late to some of this music. I played classical growing up, violin for about 10 years, and was in orchestra and all the nerdy stuff. And my dad was big into blues and big band music and definitely had all that music sort of playing nonstop in our house. And he's a really great blues harmonica player in Chicago. And he actually plays with the band when he's out here. And it kind of started to seep in college. I had a band in high school that actually, we played a lot, sort of alternative rock kind of stuff. It was one of those things where you started realizing, girls will actually pay attention to me if I tell them I have a show at this cafe later or something, But college, it just sort of became an obsession. Go to your class a day and you play music at night. That's pretty much sort of been the way it's been for about the last 8 or 9 years. Something that I can't control anymore. Just like everything else you have to do in music, you want to do. I got a play into the New York Fringe Festival.
Ooh!
And I did it last year. We actually had a play go up last year, and it was great. And I submitted again, and I confirmed yesterday. It was definitely a torn decision because the band's going to be touring all of August, so I kind of won't be able to see it. I decided we're going to try to go ahead with it anyway.
Very cool. Congrats to you. So do you keep these different creative ventures for yourself kind of segmented, or is there overlap with them?
There's a little overlap. I mean, I've written scores, for some different things. I was really into Shakespeare in college. A director that I went to college with commissioned me to do a bluegrass Depression-era score for Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Cool. At the Old Globe Theater in San Diego a couple years ago. That was fun, and we worked together on that for a while. And the band played sort of in a one-act play in L.A. here, sort of as the Texas prison band. All connected subtly, kind of.
As you all got into first recording music, how did that come together?
Well, it was a smaller operation to start. We didn't have drums originally, and it was more string band bass with the upright bass, guitar, mandolin, fiddle, and then we started bringing in a trumpet and trombone, just because once you get that taste of of that New Orleans type brass, it's really hard to go back. So those guys started coming in, and then the band started to build from there. And first record we put out with the full band was called You Can't Go Back to the Garden of Eden, with sort of a bigger sound. We like to record in as live as possible. It gets a little crazy if you have 10 people in one room at once. So I like to kind of separate the string band part, where you have the rhythm section, the drums, the bass, the guitar, mandolin, fiddle, sort of those guys going together. Then the horns can record together, and then the vocals together.
Well, so then what changed for you all after that first record?
You live and you learn what works and what doesn't work. Recording with a big band like this is always a juggling act. It's not everyone's available at the same time. Sometimes you have disagreements about which songs should go on the record. But, it's been one of those things where, I've definitely taken charge as ringleader. I know everyone's, a lot of these guys are working musicians, as I am now as well. So it's something where it's like, I'll front the studio time and get it all made. And in return, you guys try to listen to what I'm saying a little bit. It works all right.
Somebody's got to just say, all right, I'm in charge of this.
Yeah, and it is my project, for better or for worse. And it's one of those things where it's not a perfect system. On our next record, I think we're going to try to have everybody have more of a say and more of a input on it, just because I think we've had a core group of guys who are like, look, let's be more involved in each aspect of what's going forward. And sometimes it just takes talking to everybody individually and saying, do you want to be deeper into this? And they say yes, and then okay.
Never miss a radio show from Country Fried Rock. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock.
Hey, this is Zach Lupetin of the Dustbowl Revival, and if you want to check out more of our music and videos, go to our website, dustbowlrevival.com. We're on iTunes, we're on Amazon, we're all over the place, so check it out.
So with this most recent record, Carry Me Home, what was different about that process versus when you all were first recording as a band?
It was almost sort of an accidental album. There's a great festival out here that's called Make Music Pasadena. It's actually the biggest free music festival on the West Coast. They really bring a bunch of really great people together, and the Pasadena community has been really supportive of this band, and they have a studio that's in Pasadena called Crown City Studios with this guy, Eric Lillebois. got behind the band early on, and through that festival a couple years ago, we got free studio time. It was one of those things where we had our record out, Holy Ghost Station, and I was like, well, obviously I'd love to record again, but I just can't really afford it right now, and we'll see how, what happens. So we had almost half the record recorded for free, which was sort of like a magical, accidental thing. So we were like, hey, let's just keep going and finish this up. So we built the record as we went. The recording almost happened over a whole 6-8 months. We're like, well, we like this new song. Let's go in there and do it. Let inspiration sort of take the reins on this one. The more you play and the more you know people, the more people you can bring in and get involved. I think there's almost 30 people on this album.
Wow.
We always joke, Dustbowl Revival, we can almost absorb all these other bands into our band.
So you all were developing the songs in your live performance and then saying, hey, this is working, let's record it?
Right. So there's a song, Josephine, on the new record. Mm-hmm. We had just started doing it, and it was one of those songs that some people were like, is this song a joke, or is this song really cool? I don't know. First time we did it was actually at a comedy show.
Okay.
It's about a guy who's like a preacher's son, really conservative. He moves out to Chinatown, somewhere in this big city, and he meets up with this girl, and they kind of hit it off, but it turns out she's really a dude. And he's like, you know what? If my parents don't approve, too bad. Kind of a Lola fable, but with doo-wop sort of soul vibe to it. We did it at this comedy show, and it was a hit. Like, it felt so good that I was like, let's just go into the studio next week and do it. Some of the guys in the band were like, what? It's probably my favorite track on the record. It's one of those things where we had a lot of songs that people at our live shows were like, when is this going to be recorded? A song like Riverboat Queen that Caitlin Doyle sings on has been in our rotation for years. It never sort of made it on the previous albums for whatever reason, just because of fit or it wasn't the right time. So it was one of those things where it was like, all right, we got it. We're going to do it.
What's changing for you all as you all continue to play live dates?
I think we've gotten tighter. We've gotten smarter about how to deal with each other, how to take everyone's input and pool it into a cohesive whole. And that's something that I'm learning all the time. I mean, as a writer and artist, I definitely tend to be pretty headstrong about certain things. I've been trying to listen more to everyone's got a different idea about what makes music great music instead of just playing music. And that's what's interesting about this group too, is that there's a lot of different influences and styles coming together. It's like our drummer is in love with Stevie Wonder and funk. Our mandolin player and fiddle player listen to Celtic music and gypsy jazz. Our trombone player listens to European techno and opera, and he's an opera singer on the side. There's all sorts of crazy things that come together, and it's sort of, you're able to utilize each one of those things as you go along.
Literally, how do you all make that work, communicating with each other?
It's an ongoing process. It's definitely not a perfect, clean process. A lot of it is just talking. It's talking things out, having disagreements not fester, because we've been really lucky in the sense that there's really been no major band drama. Some people have come and gone, other side projects. Some people tour with other folks and then come back. But I think it's a matter of having everybody across, you're on stage. Sometimes you're in your own world. Recently I was like, look, guys, let's pay attention to each other. Let's sort of react with each other. And when that happens, the band goes to another level, it's really fun to watch. And honestly, that happens naturally when there's a great crowd. We've been lucky to have a residency at this place called The Mint in L.A. The crowds there are just super warm, super fired up. Fits maybe 200 people max. People are dancing. They know the songs. They sing along. This band really thrives with audience participation and audience interaction. Mm-hmm. And I always bug the guys at the end. We go out into the crowd. We play out, on the dance floor. It should be a communal event almost if you go see a Dustbowl Revival. That's the way I look at it.
What do you all see happening with the release of this new record and where you want to head in the short term?
Well, we're going to start getting outside our little bubble here much more often. We're going to Colorado. We've been going up to the Bay Area and Northern California a lot more and building a really nice following up there. There's some amazing venues in San Francisco. We're playing the Great American Music Hall. There's a new place called The Chapel that's great. So we're starting to sort of spread out across the West, and then we're going to go up to Seattle and Portland. We're playing the East Coast for the first time. We'll see how that goes. It's all sort of a trial by fire. Definitely tricky to travel with this many guys. There's definitely a really receptive community who want to try it out and want to see how it sounds. In New York, there's a place called Joe's Pub, part of the Public Theater, that has really cool different kinds of acts. and we're going to be playing a night with this band called the Hot Sardines.
Fun. Great name.
And they're like a similar roots swing outfit in New York, teaming up in each place sometimes with places, people like that. There's an artist in Philadelphia who I've adored for years named Birdie Bush. It just takes kind of reaching out and being like, look, I love your stuff. Let's do some dates. What do you say?
Country Fried Rock is a proud sponsor of Front Porch Fest, coming to Stewart, Virginia, August 30th through September 1st. Get your tickets now at frontporchfest.com.
Dustbowl Revival's new record is called Carry Me Home, and you can find it on iTunes, on Amazon, Bandcamp, or you can go to our website and we can ship it directly to your door, dustbowlrevival.com. It's happening slowly. I think what's tricky about our band is that we're not a great opening band, so a lot of times people, like bigger acts, will come in, and it would be great to be able to align with them, but I think it's sometimes, I don't know, we make a little bit too much noise sometimes to be like, a half-hour opening set for someone. And when you're not established enough necessarily in the festival circuit or wherever, you're like, well, we need the headlining spot, but we're going to start here and then build up. But that's not always the case. I mean, we opened for Rebirth Brass Band here, which is amazing. We just got put on a show with Trombone Shorty. That's one of those things where it just takes people recommending you by chance.
You mentioned the thing about playing the comedy thing. Tell me how that worked out.
We just did it again last week. It's called the Uncabaret. It's been going on for like 20-something years in L.A. It's like a community of sort of comedians and different artists and in sort of a variety show-ish format. It's more just for fun. You go down, you play a couple tunes and hang out. But I don't know, sometimes when you have different environments like that, and you just bring a couple musicians down and be like, all right, we're trying out this crazy song. You can gauge reaction. It doesn't work. Then you're like, okay, we're never playing. There was a woman, she was a piano player, singer, had sort of a Liza Minnelli type vibe to her right before us. And she prefaced her thing I'm not a comedian, I'm not funny, and just had the place roaring within 5 minutes, just these weird songs. Sometimes songs can be even funnier than just speaking.
What else do you all have on the horizon as a band?
I'd like to have more interaction with movies and TV and stuff like that. I think some people have started approaching us about, doing a little bit more of that scoring type thing and having songs placed in different places. And a lot of the economic side of being in a band is how do you get something that really gets you everywhere real quickly and gets you, I would love to be able to get something where you can get a little base of cash and recognition so you can actually get on the road and stay there for a little bit, building your community that way. Just doing it in little spurts is fun, but it's not sustainable. And I definitely lose money on a lot of these trips, That's just sort of the way it is with a larger band. It's a sacrifice that, I've been willing to make just because if I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, white guy with a guitar, but I'd rather not. I think it's more fun where you can show up somewhere and blow the roof off.
Y'all have had some success with a few placements so far.
Yeah, they put us in the background of American Idol, which is weird, which was fun. Sometimes it's just getting lucky, there's been a couple indie movies that they've put our stuff in that just didn't get distribution. There's a great movie called Made in China that they put our song in like the big finale sequence. The movie is hilarious. It was super funny. Kind of like a Napoleon Dynamite goes to China. And I was like, man, this movie, and it won South by Southwest. It won the festival. And I was like, wow, well, this movie is going to be huge. They never got it sold. And that's just, it's tough. It's a tough industry. I have screenplays that are in development, circling around forever. Eventually, you just have to give up and move on to something, your next project. But, my theory is, look, you hang around long enough, put out good work. The town is not that big. L.A. is, eventually it's like all these people are hanging around. They're going to shows. They have friends who recommend them music. You'd be surprised. Even with our sort of very specific, definitely non-pop music thing that we're doing, there's people from all different walks of life who are like, I don't usually like this kind of music, but I can be a part of this, which is really cool.
Super. Well, Zach, this has been really great. Carry Me Home it's just fun.
Yeah, if you're not having fun listening to music that you love, I don't know why you're listening to music. Obviously there's music that's cathartic and there's music that's your breakup music, but I feel like music that you really love and that you listen to over your lifetime is something that fires you up and keeps you energized.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, thanks a bunch and safe travels to y'all on the road this summer. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. Find our full playlist at countryfriedrock.org. You can subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock. Our theme music is from The Heap. Check them out at heapdeluxe.com. That's HEAP Deluxe. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock. Copyright 2013 by Lily Pad Productions. All rights reserved. Country Fried Rock is a partnership with the nonprofit Florence Regional Arts Alliance. Your donations to this program are tax deductible to the extent you are eligible under U.S. law. Country Fried Rock radio programs are distributed to public radio through the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock.